natural runner. Some people have slow twitch muscles, some have fast twitch muscles. Some can run very fast. And with training, they become record breakers. Some have what they call slow twitch muscles, and they run a distance. They're not fast. In fact, if they run along with a group of people in a long distance run, if the other people are running at 60 miles an hour, according to their ability, they're running at 60. That person with slow twitch muscles would be running at 90, according to his. So if he kept running at 90 miles an hour, he's going to give out. That's his gift, to run long distances. The other people at 18 miles, they're ready to quit and go home. At 18 miles, it's just hitting him. And he's ready to go. In the international working of things, there's a knowledge available to all people. Some people can acquire that knowledge, assimilate that knowledge, and turn it into really something useful. Some can acquire it and really just maybe teach it, but they're not deep in it. They just, can hang a little bit. But this ayat is thanking Allah, O my sustainer, thou hast indeed bestowed upon me something of power, and hast imparted unto me some knowledge of the inner working or the inner meaning of happenings. In other words, the inner meaning, not the outer meaning, but the real happenings, how this thing is really working, and not only that, what it means. Originator of the heavens and the earth, thou art near unto me in this world and the world of life to come. Let me die as one who has surrendered himself unto thee. Now this is a prayer. With all those gifts you've given me, let me die as one surrendering to Allah, not as one who's become fat-headed and arrogant, and running around preaching the gospel. Let me die as one who has surrendered himself unto thee, and make me one of the righteous. I wanted to, the postscript or the subtitle of today's talk, and I was wondering whether I should start with it first or later, is I was asked last week a question about China, if you remember, and I gave them a kind of a surface answer. But in the meantime, I've looked into it in more depth. Now, the subject of China is not new to us. We have been studying China for 50 years, at least. China was like any other country that was colonized. And they used their analysis of their struggle with the anti-Japanese campaign was, China is a big country, but it's weak. Japan is a small country, but they're strong. That means that China have to look at their situation and use their size and their abilities against the Japanese. Because Japanese are strong, but you see little old Japan, it's a small country. But boy, are those people organized. So their analysis in those 80 years ago or more China was a big country this week. Japan was a small country that's strong. Perfect for guerrilla warfare. Now, be conscious, the Chinese was aware of the Tanaka Plan. The Tanaka Plan was a Japanese foreign minister in 1923. His plan was to build Japan up off the size and labor of the Chinese people. In other words, they're going to conquer China. And they did. They invaded China, and they changed the name of Manchuria to Manchukuo. Boy, that's some cold crew. So they conquered China in little or no time. They were very brutal. I don't know if you've ever heard of Nanking. They call it the Rape of Nanking, 1937. The Japanese were unnecessarily brutal. They bombed all the big cities, Shanghai, and they did all that. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is so that you will understand that China was a big country that was broken up, and it was devoured by France had a piece. The U.S. In history, did you ever pass through the period of the Boxer Rebellion? About 1900, the Boxer Rebellion. That's what the Americans called it. You'd have to call it Have you ever seen any films on Shaolin? Shaolin, the martial arts center of China. In fact, they were heavily into religion. One of the movies we saw, this guy that eventually led the Boxer Rebellion was tired of being abused by all of these different peoples, and he just wanted to get to Shaolin. And he finally got there. But they put him to work doing menial stuff to teach him humility. And after years and years, finally he was ready to go, because see, Shaolin was a center that was not there. Martial arts was a part of their discipline, their religious practice. He wanted to use this for military, to beat up everybody. But that's why they called it the Boxer Rebellion. That's what Americans call them, boxers. Anyway, finally the guy matured. He gained his humility and all of that. And now the leader said, now you can go. And he left and he went out and he started teaching martial arts, for that reason. China, in its history, have been going through a period of rebuilding itself and its self-respect, And so, people ask me a question about China. So, what I'm going to say relates to the China of today. The China of today is on a roll. I remember the Chinese in East Africa 50 years ago when they built the Trans-Am Railway. They built the railroad from the harbor in Dar es Salaam to Lusaka, Zambia. Zambia and Chile in those days was two countries that had a lot of copper. Chile have ports and harbors and around them, but Zambia didn't have a port. It was landlocked. So they built that railroad, everybody knows that the Chinese worked harder on that railroad than the Africans did. Okay. Now China then rebuilt itself and it's on a roll. It has schools all around that Belt and Road thing. It's teaching Chinese, teaching this. Okay. They have built great railway systems. They got Mombasa in Kenya. They're dealing with Egypt at the Suez Canal. They're dealing with Iran. Actually, they're dealing with everybody. They got, okay, but now we have suggestions for China, of course. Now, I read this because I want everybody to know that I'm thanking Allah for everything that I'm thinking about and talking about. But you have to remember, like, the people here can remember our batting average, forecasting, and it's clear that we understand what's going on in the world. But now we're sitting here and we're going to give advice like we gave advice. You can remember a few months ago, we was advising China do this, Japan make friends, and since China is so strong, they don't have to demand an apology from Japan, because Japan didn't apologize in a roundabout way 1,000 times. But Japanese, is hard for them to apologize. They commit hara-kiri. When they do something wrong, they kill themselves. Yeah, they just hey, so you know, and that's part of the culture. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the kids, if they get some wrong stuff in their school, hara-kiri right away. You know what I mean? I mean today, not 100 years ago. So, especially in some Japanese institutions, they're reteaching some of the old samurai customs, going up in the mountains and sitting there in the snow, cross-legged and just looking. All that stuff, they're giving them a little bit of that. Now the Japanese, they like that. They actually thrive on that stuff. But apologizing, you know, if they'll kill themselves for some mistake they made, that they're not heavily into apologizing, you know. But anyway, so we gave everybody this advice. Now we got some more advice. This advice relates to, let's call it Neo-Chinese colonialism, immigration throughout Africa, and I mean, we've been aware of this. I bought a doll, an African doll, in 1998 for Sakina. She was 1 year old because she learned to walk in South Africa. And I turned the doll over, it said made in China. That was in 98. Okay. China's on a roll right now. We might as well get right into the show instead of trying to give all the background stuff. China has been very successful. Their biggest success was, now, Mao Zedong thought. Mao Zedong didn't get along with the Russians way back when, because Russia was the first communist state. In fact, China developed their Communist Party 100 years ago, 1921, I think. So you know how the first one, we're successful, now we're going to teach you how to be successful. The only thing is, Russia had an industrial revolution, and China was having a peasant revolution, right? In other words, it wasn't in the big cities, it was out in the countryside. The landlords controlled, it was like the people who were slaves, they worked for the big landlord. Like sharecropping, and you just never got enough money to get back. It was actually convenient. It's probably more convenient than slavery, because you don't have to do much management. Like our people that did all that sharecropping down south, boss man gave them a mule, a plow, and maybe some seeds. And so, but he didn't have to. Now they was in charge of that. Now when they add up all the stuff that they done borrowed and everything, then you look up and they don't have a whole lot of money. Most of it is going back to boss man, and boss man is happy with it, because he don't have to watch you, right? If you're a slave and he got to watch you and pay overseers, you don't have to do nothing. So this is very convenient for the it's neo-slavery. Okay. So Chairman Mao turned China over to the people. It was very strong, but it was economically backwards. In fact, they got a nuclear bomb way back in '64, I think. I'm sure it was back in '64, because India probably got one in '74. But they got their stuff. So, and they were big country, so anyway. Now, let's go directly to Africa, immigration, loans, and what have you. Now, the World Bank and all those people always loaned African countries money, which they could never pay back, because it's like foreign aid. When I was in South America, I used to see how they did foreign aid. They would send foreign aid from here down to South America. And some of it went to the leaders and their crew. And then the rest of it, they had to buy used American weapons. Not only military weapons and tanks and what have you that was out of date, but they also bought, when I was in South America, all those old 38 specials. The police used to carry 38 special. That was a regular weapon for the police. Then they started carrying bigger weapons and Glocks and Magnums and all of that. 357 Magnums, 44 Magnums. They started carrying bigger weapons. So they had to sell, they sold all of those to South America with money. So they sent the money here, down there labeled foreign aid. And the foreign aid came right back by buying up Americans' old weapons. So it was really just a recycling. I don't want to get into all that, but that's very dirty. Again, you never pay off your loan. Africa was in such debt some decades ago that they just had debt forgiveness. They said, we can't pay, and we're not going to pay. And all of us together are not going to pay. So they call it debt forgiveness. I have a suggestion for China. For the wonderful railroads they built, they also sent along the construction company, which is Chinese, to handle it, to build it, and then they have some alternative programs where they teach the Africans how to also run these new trains. They got to teach them not only how to run them, how to repair them, and everything. Okay, that's China's gift back to Africa. That's gratefulness of China for being put in a situation where within 40 years, good God Almighty, they done rocked the boat and they in pocket. They in big pocket. But these Chinese schools all over the world now, Chinese immigration. Some countries, they have hundreds of thousands of people in Africa, Chinese. It would be fine except for one thing. Look at America, look at anywhere, and look at immigrants. Immigrants are a minority. They have the same language, they have the same culture. And if you have all those tons of Chinese in Africa, within one generation, they will be totally controlling the whole country. They would be like Jews, because the other people are not that nationalistic when you're within your own nation. Okay, but when you are outside of your nation, so the Chinese have a powerful culture anyway. Now they're teaching that culture to everybody else. Okay, Chinese had inferiority complexes just like everybody else did, from colonialism and what have you. That's one of the biggest things they want to overcome, to get back to feel like we're human beings and we count. So they should understand the people they're working with. They should also understand themselves. One, we Chinese are like ants. We work like ants. They don't look up and look around. They work like that. Now that's one thing. So that means they're going to overtake the African in their own country. And if they have 2, 3, 4, better not have 10% of the population automatically. The police can control all these neighborhoods. They're not 10% of the population. They're only 2 or 3% because they're organized. Okay. If the Chinese are well organized within any African country, and they've built these railroads and they're paying them back with so much money that they have to tax the people, let's say of Kenya, high taxes to pay back those loans. The old time loans was only 2.5%. And 50 years ago, the Chinese gave you a loan. It was really, the 2.5% was only, it was either 2.5% or 1%. It was just for paperwork. It wasn't for, we're going to make money off of you. Okay. You take this new contract with, I hope they haven't signed it yet, with Iran. When you go to Iran now, you'll see Chinese goods flooding Iran. Why? Because there's a big embargo. Right, yeah. Okay. So the U.S. is driving them into the arms of China, which they can't embargo China because they're too big. Okay. So one of the clauses in there is that it's a 25-year contract, and they get to get Iranian oil for half price. That's not right. That's not right. And I hope they didn't sign it. If they have, they should renegotiate it. Like Indonesia, like Malaysia did. Malaysia had a bad contract, and they renegotiated. They said, no, we renegotiated that. There should be a renegotiation of these. In Africa, it should be, you have to pay us back 1/2 of what the bill says. You know, you owe us $1 billion, well, you only have to pay back 500 million. And you also cut the rate of payment down. You pay half the money back that they want. Because remember, those Chinese contractors, okay. Now remember, there's something dangerous. The reason I read this ayat, there's a danger of success. When you become successful, you become arrogant. These are natural. They've moved away from Deng Xiaoping and Chairman Mao, and now they're talking about Confucius, when what they should do is bind together. Chairman Mao, because Mao Zedong had a moral ethics, Deng Xiaoping said, get rich is glorious. It's good. They done got rich now. Now they got to reinstitute morality, ethics to keep it balanced. They got to see it. You got to remember what part we said we want to play. One of the parts that we want to play is we want to not impose leadership on anybody, but we want to influence the direction of change. Now, here we are, Negroes in America, and we see what's going on in the world. We're going to tell people what we think. We're going to tell them what we think. But we're not just running our mouth. When they asked me the question, I went and did a little research, about China. So, do we have proof of this stuff? Indonesia and Malaysia. In Malaysia, because of the heavy influence, Chinese migrated there years and years ago, but there's millions of them. They control the economy in the biggest Muslim nations. The Chinese control the economy in Malaysia and Indonesia because they're immigrants, and immigrants work together. They cousin, hey man, we gonna get you a thing too, and they do that. Pretty soon, they have affirmative action. I know for 30 years when I go to universities, when I would speak there on the campuses where there was a lot of Malaysians, they had affirmative action for Malays in Malaysia. Because of the It wasn't nobody was mad about it. They said, no, we got to have a firm. You got to remember, they have a policy right now in Indonesia. If you talk to a Chinaman, they'll say, hey, we're not buying big cars and flashing money. They're making a big money, but they don't want to show it and make the Indonesians mad or the Malaysians mad. Okay. In America, you see everybody that immigrate here. They may stumble around a minute, but I don't care whether they're Sudanese, they got to get them a little business up there. Right up the street, a little farther than that, there's a 7-Eleven, okay? Everywhere you go. If you look at who owns the businesses in D.C., it's not black people anymore. Almost everything is owned by someone else. Immigrants always go for, or not always, but in many cases, they go for business. Right now in South Africa, even the Somalis, which are the poorest of the poor in Somalia, when I used to live, it's not like that anymore. But I put it this way. The Indians that came to East Africa to help the British build railways 100 and something years ago. Do you know that when I lived in Tanzania, 90% of all businesses was owned by Indians? 90%. You might be too young to remember Idi Amin when he took over Uganda, put all of the Indians out because they owned everything. Now, everybody else wanted to do that. And the Indians lived in separate places. And they owned everything. The African didn't own nothing. And that's not bad that they just say, hey man, we came over here to build railroads and now people gonna need to eat. First, let's get our hot food and everything from India. Then, hey, the other people, they gotta eat too. So pretty soon, concentration of wealth. That's what's happening with China today. Number one, thousands of immigrants flooding into Africa. Thousands of dollars flooding into Africa. It has to be controlled. The Chinese, if they don't handle it right, would become a new colonial master in Africa. Right. Technically, let's call it what it is. They are already. That's what they are. They have more power. They built all the institutions for Africa. But remember, what was the thing about give a man a fish, he eats for a little while, teach him how to fish. They should teach management, organization, discipline, farming techniques, and all of that. They could look around where to build dams, not big, gigantic dams, but certain dams that will hold water so they can irrigate little regional dams. They should teach the African that and do it simple, simple earthen-like dams, dikes, not to too much change the environment, but to manage the drought-prone areas. Now, Africa's climate is changing just like it is over here. The forest fires burning in California, they're getting bigger, longer, and it's starting earlier. They say we would expect this to be happening in August, and not August, but in October and November, but it's happening now. Okay, let me get back to China, and then we'll get back to family. So immigration has its own characteristics. So China is overpopulated, and so people come to Africa and do a job, build a stadium, and they look around and say, man, look at that air. It's fresh air. Hey, pretty soon people start staying. They write people back home and they said, yeah, they take pictures, and the Chinese back in China they said, look at all that blue sky. We wouldn't see that, but they be, ooh, look at that blue sky. And look at all that land, Okay. China should balance between Deng Xiaoping and Mao Zedong, because I don't know how much Confucian ethics would come to play. But that's just to begin. Why? Because communism itself, people are taught in communism that communism can come from a capitalist society, not from a poor society. You can't jump from being poor, right, and everybody barely eating, to this utopian society. So China has leapfrogged all the way over, and now is moderately successful. The people are moderately wealthy. That's 800 million people. The other 500 million people that are still not starving to death by no means, but they are lifting them up. So China is practicing some of its own principles of the so-called communism with Chinese characteristics. They're actually doing that. Nobody goes and say, there's the poor over there, let's go get them. They don't do that. They definitely don't do it here. I don't even know anywhere where they do that. And if somebody do it, they doing it blabbermouth stuff. They just talking. Right, yeah. They're not going to go, because who wants them anyway? Now, yeah, when we talk about the new America and homelessness and turning the churches into this and that, who wants homeless people in their church taking up all that room, right? I mean, when I talk to the preacher friends, they almost want to call the psych. Come get the brother. The brother is saying that you have a nice Benz and whatever you have, and now start doing the work that Jesus. Jesus, what? You know, love your neighbor, really help your neighbor, help the poor, right? What about my diamonds? What about me? And the people are so brainwashed, they want their preacher to look good. It's true, yeah. They actually want our preacher, we want him to look good. In fact, if y'all don't buy him a Benz, we gonna buy him one. We're going to church, we're gonna have a fundraiser for the pastor, Lord have mercy. He driving that old, what is that car, 4-5-year-old Toyota, Japanese car. Lord, we're going to pray for him. We're going to pray him into a nice Mercedes. Even he deserves a Rolls Royce if we can get it for him. Okay, they want him to look good. They want to look that. Let me get back to China, immigration. So, immigration has certain characteristics, but utopianism for China would be a combination of Chairman Mao, the morals and the ethics, and Deng Xiaoping. It's still all right to get rich, but we got to bring the poor with us. Okay. So Africa should renegotiate all the deals, reduce the cost 50% and reduce payments 50%. And be light on these repayments. Okay. So the people will begin to see Chinese not like Americans, not like the World Bank, and not like Europeans. Would you click the what's the name just a little bit? They will begin to see the people, the Chinese people, as people who want to aid and help them. So they should send a few people to Chinese cultural schools from Africa, the people that want to be diplomats there and what have you. But remember, if it's mismanaged, you would change from European whiteness. Do you know that the Chinese still have that European whiteness thing? You ought to look at the people that they have doing. If a girl is half Chinese and half white, you don't have to worry about her job. Like I hire y'all or somebody over here, but you know, the people still got that white stuff in them. They got it. It's just terrible. Yeah, they got it. Everybody still got it. Don't tell me nothing about no Pakistanis and Indians. They going for the lightest girl in Pakistan. The family's looking for it. She's not light enough. And then them little round rooms when you see people sweeping the streets in Pakistan and India, look at the complexion. You don't see no light folks out there. You just don't. That's the way it goes. Okay. We don't blame people for all of that. That stuff doesn't happen. But we don't want to repeat that. Like the Chinese wanted to rebuild their self-esteem and their character, then get out of the way and allow Africans to rebuild Africa with African characteristics, not Chinese characteristics, right? Yeah, so they feel good about themselves. They don't need Chinese with all this goose stepping and organization, intimidating the Africans. So when somebody help you, like the Chinese, look at here. The Chinese ran big game on Boss Man. I'm telling you, you want to know why he's mad? He's mad as H-E-double-L. They deindustrialized America, set all those factories. The people over here making too much money. $25 an hour in 1980, we're not going to pay them people that kind of money. That was then. So if he can close those factories here and send them over there, and they make $2 an hour or something like that, what the heck then? And they're going to be happy with that. The thing about it, though, they said if you transfer, you have to transfer technology along with it. How to do this, not just the factory. You know what I mean? So the Chinese got the transfer of technology, the ability to do it, and they caught up with Boss Man and flying right past them, and their feet ain't even touched the ground yet. And on top of that, they didn't become Democrats or Republicans, because that's what they believe. If they get enough wealth, they're going to automatically develop democracies. And the people are going to want more so-called freedom. Them people are stupid. People have their cultures. And some cultures, they like stability better than anything else, right? So the Chinese Communist Party giving them stability. So what's the name's thing? 95% of the Chinese like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
95% of the Chinese, I forgot what it was, either they approved of or they trust their government.
They trust their government.
Yeah.
Do you think how many people in America trust their government?
I remember that survey. I think it was down at like 10 or 8%.
It was single digits.
It was something low.
Okay, anyway, let's get on. So come out and teach success using local resources so people will be able to look in their environment and translate that success into. You want the Africans to cooperate more and what have you. But see, imagine you've been living in the tropics all that time. And in Europe, you got to plant at a certain time, in a certain way, or you're going to starve to death. In Africa, you throw the seed out the window and it's going to grow. You see what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Okay, that's going to develop a certain, now you hunt and you do other things, but even your hunting, I don't know if you saw African films It's not like that now like it used to be, but it was to hunt. All you got to do is throw a rope over the tree and pull, and you got something to eat, right? It's not like the Indians here in America where you got to track the animals. You just go outside and look around. So, well, there's something over there. And there's so many of them, all you do is, whether it's a zebra or whatever it is you kill, the whole tribe can eat. You know, and it goes back in the ground, it's fertilizer, and it's recycled. Okay, let me speed up. So we are suggesting that the Chinese develop, let's call it Chinese Peace Corps, Utopian Peace Corps. What are they going to teach? They're going to teach utopianism, not competition and consumerism. Why? The world don't need any more consumerism, and they don't need any more production. That's going to be a hard one. You might be able to do it a little bit with China, but India, they're not going to make, because India has to get back on its feet, and it's got so many people starving, so many people at the low. But China can compete. You take all them people back to China, get them out cleaning up the water, right? Less production, the air cleans up, da-da-da-da-da. All these new ways of doing things, they should lead the world. China has an opportunity to lead the world in modern technology. The U.S. has an opportunity too. We're going to tell the U.S. to do the same thing. Let them compete in that. Things that won't harm the earth. Things that balance the earth off. Okay, they're going to have to do this sooner or later. But when you listen to these people talk last night on that republicanism and before, them people not thinking nothing about the earth they live on. In fact, you would think they're talking about, in fact, they are. They're not talking about the earth we live on. They don't mention nothing that's important to us. The police just shot a brother yesterday, the day before, grabbed his and shot him 7 times. Well, why? What's the deal on shooting people so many times?
With the kids in the car.
With the kids in the car. There's no reason for it. But long as we're not organized, they're going to keep doing that. We can't depend on them people to do. That's why we'll get into our subjects. We'll give this subject here, which will be dealing with, the family approach. But we're just taking a little time here on China because people ask the question. But we got big stuff we got to do because they're not doing it. They're not thinking about it. They're not talking about it. And they don't want it. And then they got people like Kamala Harris talking about her parents was involved in civil rights. I learned from them. I said, hell, I'm from Oakland. That's where I'm from. And I think I do know almost everybody that's been involved over the decades. I ain't never knew her mama or heard about her mama. And her daddy neither. He's a nice Jamaican guy, I'm sure. But I ain't never heard of him. And those people get popular if they sing the government song. They sing the government song. Okay, let's, so one generation China would control food production and all that. Okay. So our suggestion is that China pull back and help the people get up. Like the thing, teach people how to fish, and they'll they'll never starve to death. Give them a fish and they're in trouble. As we said, reconstruct Africa with African characteristics. And China should be grateful that something in the universe helped them pull out of their thing, and I mean they blasted. But they should never desire to become like the colonial master that they was once ruled by. Never take advantage of someone's weaknesses. If God done blessed you, okay. The U.S. is on your case, Iran. We're going to help you because you being oppressed by boss man. But we're not going to charge you. You're going to have to pay us for 25 years. We get half price on your oil. The fourth biggest oil reserve in the world is in Iran, number 4. Okay, that's our dear Chinese for a while. Now let's get back to our family. And I want to talk a little bit specifically about my dear family. That's what the discussion is about. And okay. East Oakland Enterprises. East Oakland was the right size for our project, a Black Economic Enterprise Zone. Now, 50 years ago, when I was doing what I was doing in Oakland, believe it or not, a lot of my family worked kind of with me also. And I showed you a picture of my brother. When my second to the oldest brother started working with us, the Negroes in our organization kind of turned him in and got him off the thing, got him out of the picture, and he went to prison. Yeah, he went to prison. And they are the ones that had called the police on him. I didn't say nothing then. I couldn't prove it, but I knew it. No problem. No problem. My brother, our first Masjid al-Islam, when I was in prison in 79, I came on a Christmas furlough, and all I was doing was looking for a mosque. So I went back after Christmas, and my brother found it, and he rented it for us. So when I came out of jail, boop, I went straight and got to work on our masjid. Not this one, but the one before that. So a couple of years later, my brother died of cancer. And I never felt comfortable about it. Another thing that my family will remember, we was up at our main record shop, and in fact, one of my nieces worked there. And I paid them a living wage. I paid them a standard wage, like whatever, like if people made $100 a week on a big factory job or something, that's what I gave them. What the heck? It's not only a living wage. Imagine you 17 and 18 and all that, and you just getting a, you know. Hey, they had it good. I want y'all to think about Oakland from 1968 to about 1971. Remember how nice it was in Oakland? Remember everybody buying, young people buying their own houses? Remember what kind of cars did people pull up to the record shop in? What kind of car was they driving? Of course, in those days, everybody drove Cadillacs. Cadillacs or Lincolns, some big old long cars. Didn't nobody I was hanging around even drove no Chevrolet and stuff like that. Now Chevrolet is a nice car. It was nice then. But nobody, they wanted a Cadillac. Okay, what kind of environment can produce all of that? Especially in East Oakland. East Oakland Enterprises, from 1st Avenue to 105th. What kind of environment could produce the environment where everybody could get a piece of money? That means everybody was, the money that we got, the big money, we recycled it in the community. We spread it around. Everybody get a piece of it. And it seems like you're going to have less money, right? You're not giving it away. Oh, you do a little boxing, you want to be a boxing promoter, just go home and just do some promoting. Here, how much it going to cost you? Well, just give us our money back if you make it back, and then keep on rolling, right? If you need a little more, come on by. That was the attitude. We invested in the people. Hey, man, I never seen anything like it, nor have I even heard anything like it. We had people that made more money, like here, Chicago. Remember we was talking the other day about the brothers in Chicago? We was talking about yeah. Okay, here's the Grand Major Mosque, and here's the General Abdul and General Abu, and the Pyramid Towers. You can see right there at the bottom. Pyramid Towers. At the bottom. The same thing right here. And you can see the dates, 1983, right? Yes. So then on one of them it says squat. Yeah. That means we had a meeting on that day. The point is, and we was talking the other day, and so I went through my stuff and I pulled all of this stuff out. That means that we have studied, when we're having this squat, we're studying them and everything around. There's nothing wrong with what we did. We're studying everybody. We're studying, if we were Imam Jamil, we're studying. I mean, it would be ridiculous. The system is out to wipe us out, right? So we have to be aware. We have to study. I know that this allows protection that we're here, but some of that is we have studied from day one. From day one. Why did we have East Oakland Enterprises in Oakland in the first place? Because we thought wealth should be shared with everybody. That's just the way we thought. Right on this one it says, Yo tuve una, and then there's dream. I have a dream, that's what it means, right here. It's in Spanish, you could probably just, because I didn't know the word for yo tuve or yo tengo, you know. A dream, I have a dream. Yeah, okay, okay. This is way back then, and this is back before that. This stuff is always prevalent in everything we write. Okay, now for my family. Dear family, y'all have made a drastic mistake. Your mistake has been you have avoided everything you have been seeing. And it would be expected, since you went through the educational system, before y'all got educated, y'all was with me. After you got educated, you drifted with boss man. That means boss man is teaching you the wrong teaching. And no matter what you have seen, like in life, you have made the incorrect decision. The Section 8 on the house, I'm not going to go into details, but all of that, the same thing that happens in D.C. Whatever happens with some little tax, some little this, some little that, I'm going to pay the price for. I'm going to pay the bill. Everything, everybody knows that. It's getting better now, but I'm going to pay it. Now I want you to remember that our family name is big, and this is not just family, but you should realize, and you should also have a yearning to make a contribution to history and not swallow that white man, I am the permanent reality, and he's temporary. I want you to look at it now. Everything that they've told you have been a lie. Everything time you done cooperate with them, it's flopped back in your face. There's been no success. Everything he has proposed has been a failure. And everything that we did in all this time was because we happened to make the right decision at the right time at all costs. One of my nieces took me to turn myself in over in San Francisco. It wasn't there. But I wasn't turning myself in because I was sad and finished. I was turning myself in because I went back to Africa. And when I went back to Africa, I brought a lot of money with me from the business in South America, and I made that money to support the movement. When I got back there, and they're not there anymore, I go to find them, and they're spread all over, some in Zambia, some this, some come back to the U.S., everything. So I have no excuse now to even go back to South America. So when I came back to South America that time, I didn't come directly back to Colombia. I came back next door to Venezuela because I'm thinking about the stuff. Now, remember, I'm going through all the stuff when I tell you about Chairman Mao and all that stuff. I'm studying all of that then. I'm studying all the mini manuals on revolution. I'm studying all of this stuff. I'm studying. And when I come and hit back to Mexico for a while, I'm in Hermosillo. In fact, I bring some of it. That's the capital state of Sonora. I have a few people come down and visit with me. Before that, I was up in Tijuana, and we had a meeting, in fact, at the Country Club Hotel. We had a staff meeting. All the Negroes came across the border, and we almost had the whole hotel. Right? I'm telling you, it was like a big Negro conference. Yeah, we had. That's the way it was. What's all these niggas doing here? There's a racetrack there. They called it the Country Club. Anyway, why did I turn myself in? Did I turn myself in because I was whipped, I was defeated? Absolutely not. I had plenty of money. In fact, I went back to them to take them money. I had told them 2 years before, hey, we're going to need money for a rebellion. I said, well, I'll take care of it, don't you worry. Now I'm coming back with a big smile, with big bags of money. They're gone. I may leave a little with a friend, but In fact, I put it in a safe deposit box in Africa and come on back over here. So I have to use those times and those months to think, what revolution now? Remember, will it be above ground or will it be underground? And we saw all those. Look, we were studying all the movements then. Biedermannhof Gang, Japanese Red Army, everybody. You know, I don't know if you ever heard of them guys, but they were all popular in those days. Biedermannhof Gang was a German. Japanese Red Army was Japanese, of course. And so, but all of them, we're studying all of that. They're blowing up this, they're blowing up that. I said, shoot, I don't take a shine to all of that. You know, all that running around, ducking in the woods and blowing up stuff. I mean, I'm more like a manager. Hey, we'll get, y'all need bullets, bombs, all that. Yeah, you need money. I organize that stuff. That's what I do. If I have to, I'll run around in the bushes, but that's not my preference, you know, because I think if you have to do it, it's good. That's the revolution. But if I don't see that in this modern time, I don't see that. So anyway, so we decided, I want you to know, the government has not had authority over me for a long time. A long time. I decided to turn myself in. And when I got out and wasn't quite locked in, I sent myself to prison again. And then I came out perfect. Not perfect, I came out better. I know what prison do for me, and I know, you know what I mean? Not 100 years, nobody wants to just go to jail forever. But a year and a half, 2 years is fine. That's a rest. It's a rest, it ain't no, right, ain't no big deal. Now, I want you to understand, you go to get these little movies they put out. I want you to study these 3 movies. Number 1 is Superfly. What's the party line? A gangster that wants to go straight. That's just, and he has it out with the crooked police officials. Now, you study that. I told y'all Chief Gain came to the church, Allen Temple, with that old freckle-faced red lieutenant. The only thing is, my problem is I didn't listen to my father. That's not a problem, it's just it was my attitude. He said, boy, you gotta get it, because you gotta remember your grandfather ran a nice gambling establishment. You gotta remember that. When I was getting arrested one time on 82nd, 1252 82nd Avenue, them apartments right next to Will Starger's mother's house on 82nd, right there. The police was offering me, well, you don't have to go to jail, you just cooperate, just do this, that. I said, look, here's what you do. We play cops and robbers. Y'all chase me around, try to put me in jail, and I'll run around, you know, and try to stay out of jail. My father comes in, and the vice squad said, oh, the gambler's here. They all knew my father. And he was trying to tell them, let the boy go over there. Don't worry, we got to carry it. So then he left. So I didn't even know that the whole vice squad knew my father well. But vice, gambling, prostitution, and drugs, right? Those are vices. Gambling is a vice. That's what they said. So my father paid them guys. Huh? He told me, you give them white folks they cut and go on about your business. I ain't giving them white folks a dime, I them white folks, that was the problem. It's not a problem, that was my attitude, and that was good. They were from the country. In every town, you got to pay the sheriff. You know what I mean? You can't do nothing illegal, and the sheriff, you ain't gonna get a sheriff nothing. You just gonna be a nigga gonna get rich, and you ain't gonna pay the institution. You pay them, they let you go. You can moonshine, you can do anything you want, but you got to give them their cut. You can have a gambling house that could stay open till 5 a.m. in the morning if you give them their little cut, right? You got to. In Oakland, boy, we running. Y'all all remember. You got to think and remember how Oakland was. Martin Luther King didn't do it. Nobody, NAACP ain't did it. Urban League haven't did it. None of those people. Martin Luther King went to Chicago in 1968 to develop, right, a black economic enterprise zone. He was killed right away. He didn't do it. Okay. The movie first is Superfly. Watch that. Then after that, Superfly TNT. They made a mistake with Superfly TNT. They were following me around, writing the script as I go. Superfly TNT, Superfly goes to Africa. What nigga you know goes to Africa? Da-da-da-da. All this stuff. It's either real or it's not. They made a mistake. They showed all of those Negroes in Africa practicing Islam. They must have showed a big Eid festival in Nigeria. And everybody, when I was in the pen, I saw it. I said, boy, that's good. Then the MAC. Where's the MAC at in Oakland? MAC is in Oakland. Why? Y'all was in Oakland. What was everybody talking about for years after I left? They're talking about me, right? The impact I had on Oakland and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So they brought the MAC out. Who's in the MAC? All the Oakland Negroes. Ward brothers in there. All the Negroes from all over Oakland are there. Billy Barnes, them, they all there. Roosevelt Taylor, them, right? Pastor Taylor over at the church now. All of them, they're there in the movie. Why? So those Negroes would be talked about instead of me, because they made a mistake with Superfly TNT. Because what do you do if you run off from America? Well, you wander around for a while and you go to Africa. What do you do when you go to Africa? Get involved in the liberation movement. They made a mistake. It's, oh my God, what do we do? Then they come up with the MAC, pimps, hustlers, and Negroes. That's what it was. I don't know if you ever saw the MAC, but that's what it was, the MAC. Okay, why the MAC? The impression that we have made on Oakland is permanent. You guys allowed the white man to teach you that our condition is temporary and his is permanent. Okay, I'm not going to go over all of this stuff, but we'll eventually go over things like the Arab Spring, where we say there will be no Arab Spring. That's 2011. There was no Arab Spring, and the world is exactly where we thought it would be, and its own pen, its own paper, and it's in the news. Everybody knows this. That is a reality. All our forecasts, about 20 million people going to Najaf and Karbala. Why I'm not back in Oakland? Because on January the 3rd, they assassinated our brother. And everything we told the people exactly happened. It wasn't bad. All of a sudden, you see millions of people in the street, right? Millions. Millions of people in the street. That means when the side is talking about, I want to thank you for giving me some understanding of the knowledge of the inner workings of things, you have to get used to your uncle. You have to get used to your brother. You have to get used to your family member being smarter than the whole system of the government. And you have to look around and you have to see what's the proof of that. Well, if they organize the whole state of California, from UCLA to San Jose State, UC Berkeley, right? All of those, UC Irvine, and they got them all organized based on you, Y-O-U. And when they leave, all of them leave on the same signal from them. And their organizations here all follow the same principle. Everybody knows the forecasts are correct and the behavior is correct. I want y'all to remember, maybe it was 1960, probably it was 1970. I was closing the record shop, getting ready to go to Monterey Jazz Festival. That's right. Here come the police. So the police is messing with me. I go to Mama's house. Do you know those old scenes of a mother in her night clothes trying to protect their son and his busted upside head, blood streaming all down the same way it was the other? And I'm the richest nigga in the region. That day solidified. I ain't going nowhere. The cracker gonna have to kill me. You can sign up for all those classes on Peckerwoodism. All of y'all. You can sign up for them classes on Peckerwoodism. I'm telling you, everything is forgiven. If we can forgive all other Negroes, you think I can't forgive my family? You're average human beings. And the average human being believes or cooperates with the system of the day. It don't make no difference what the system is. They just cooperate. Why? Because the system has power, authority. And you think I don't have no power and you don't think I have no authority. But what I want y'all to do is look over the last few years and think. Out of the whole United States, who's on the ascendancy and who's on the decline? We're on the ascendancy. And we take credit for all the decline that he had, because we said that's what's going to happen to him. The more you mess with me, boss man, the faster you're going to fall. See if it's true. Just see, he said, my uncle said, the faster or the more they mess with him, the faster they're going to decline, and the more suicidal behavior the Americans are going to develop. Just for instance, just look in the news. You can see the news. What is America doing? It's running the whole world away from itself. It's losing all, I won't say losing, lost. Finished. All of his reputation, everything. Nobody has confidence in it anymore, except a few Negroes. And I know they put over at Howard, they put it if you go to a Muslim conference, you'll see the federal government say we need people to speak Dari, Pashto, Urdu, all the Muslim language. They have a stall. Yeah, Arabic, da 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 da. And you think those slow immigrants are not going to go and sign up? One lawyer in Texas, he spoke before me at the program. He said half of my clients, he was an immigration lawyer, are asked, of course it's more than that, will you cooperate with us if we need? That's what they ask them. They're begging to get in the U.S. What do you think they're going to say? Okay. Everyone is out of their league. Here's what happened. Nobody thought that anybody would last as long as we have. It's just not in the cards. Martin Luther King, 12, 13 years. Malcolm X, 12 or 13 years. Okay, I want you to remember them as they were. And I want you to remember me as I was during their time. Actually, I was implementing at that time the exact thing they were talking about. You got to remember that. I was implementing a black economic enterprise zone in Oakland, California. And you don't hear about it nowhere. But just remember, how was Oakland then? How was y'all's life then? How was everybody's life? What kind of cars was people driving when they pull up? Hey, man, what's going on? They was all driving new cars, and they was the most expensive cars. And they had money of their own. Why? Because we circulated the money in the community. That's what we did. All right. So why you think I have to leave the country and everything? Just because I'm black? Well, that has something to do with it. But because of what I was doing and successful at it. Why do you think the police, I don't care whether it's South Africa, why do you think, if you probably didn't see it now, but why do you think if our greatest leader in the Islamic movement in 1996 says, this man here is the nicest guy in the world, da 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 da, and all of a sudden, everybody's mouth is closed and they ain't do it. They are, well, they should be for me, right? Because that's what the leaders say. Against. I'm trying to tell you, everything they did. I got a call yesterday from my friend that introduced me to drug dealing. And he didn't already know because the police is telling everybody, all this stuff is just like y'all know too, you know. When you come back out, you know. Well, forgiveness is a big deal. Those are the same people. They're thinking, man, I messed up. I blew a multi-million-dollar operation. I blew it. No, you didn't. When they convinced me to deal drugs, they confirmed my mission. Technically, they was doing God's work. The police is telling them, remember, I only created men and jinn to serve me. Everything that happened, I want you to remember, everything that happened to me was to refocus me and get me. I didn't have nothing to do in 1966. I went to work for Longview Fiber Company, saved my money, and I was having a nice time just living it up. Then they came and changed it. Why? If we get him involved in drugs, we're going to divert him from this little blackish stuff doing around there. And after all, the Black Panther Party just got formed. We don't want this stuff to spread. So they identify all the popular young people around, and they want to divert them. That's what they did with me. They did not divert me. They confirmed my mission. I'm telling you, they confirmed my mission. Because if anything would have happened different, I wouldn't be here today. When I was when I used to go, y'all used to visit me every now and then when I'd go to them in jails. Remember, y'all grew up on the street. I grew up in jail. State raised, remember? I'd come out for a month, 2, 3 months, and I would go back and I would stay 2 or 3 years as a kid, right? That's a long time when you're a kid. Okay, why? Because I was being raised up under boss man. And that's why, and I always went to the hole, always. You ask anybody, I'm always going to the hole. I'm in isolation all the time by myself. I was supposed to come home in '64. They had to ride in the field house, but they took my date. You can ask Terrell. My name is still on Farouk Abdul-Ahad, still got that old paperwork from 1964 when we was all in the hole for that riot in the field house. They took my date. Wonderful if I would have came home in early '64 instead of early '65. Guess what? I'd have went right back up on the 85th and been drinking wine. But I didn't. I got deeper and deeper into this Nation of Islam stuff, and when I came out, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do nothing. And it was a miracle. In 1965, how many Negroes did anybody know that didn't eat pork, didn't smoke cigarettes, didn't drink alcohol? Well, what do you do? People would ask me, well, what do you do? Remember, it was 65. Smoke weed? No, I don't smoke no weed. I was rich selling weed before I ever even smoked a joint. Rich. Now I see why everybody buying this stuff. But anyway, let's move on. The point is that everything that they did to hurt the brother always came out as a help. 66, 71 when I left the country, I didn't leave the country out of weakness. I left the country with $150,000. I left the country with more than anybody else had. After years of fighting the government when you're supposed to be broke. Remember all the arrests that I used to have in Oakland? The police arrested me in 1970, on April Fool's Day, they arrested me 3 times in one day, just to be funny. So how you like that, nigga? No problem, boss man. But when you have the foresight, when you have the insight, and when you have the discipline to wait boss man out, to train yourself over the long periods of time, then you become a blessed personality. That's what it is. That everything, when you took me to turn myself in, and niece that is, 1973, it was not from weakness. In 1978, when I not turned myself in, but in 1980, when they took me back, I come out in 81, ready to go. All of it turned out good. Unbelievable. Now, the things that y'all have been participating in, the poorhouse over there on, you know what street. I'm not going to even talk about the dumb stuff, but just imagine what y'all did. Now remember, I don't want to go through it, but I'm supposed to own 62% of the property because everybody else been paid off. And dear sister, your mother, was supposed to own 37, and it was y'all's. Remember when dear sister passed away? The only account on that property was in her name and my name. But niece number 2 got all the paperwork and the account. I have no idea how much money was in that account, nor do I care. All I know is after a few years, maybe 5 years, I get a notice in the mail that says the property will be sold if there's $24,000, $25,000, 25, something like that. Payment is not made because y'all raked in all the money, all those, I don't even know how much money you raked in. Then you let me acquire the bill to pay it off. Y'all ain't paid no taxes in 5 years, 5 años. Oh my goodness. And then I paid the taxes. And Mukhtar blamed me for paying the taxes. Said I stole the money. Okay, everybody here knows I lived in the office. Everybody knows I lived in the attic around there. Everybody knows that those dummies, I'm gonna call them dummies for now, but I don't mean they're dummies. I just mean they're uneducated and they need assistance, which I told them years ago I'm gonna help them anyway. But anyway, they said, now, in those days, I didn't have an account in my name, Masjid al-Islam. I don't care whether I spoke somewhere, Masjid al-Islam. I don't care whether I raised some money, Masjid al-Islam, right? And Masjid al-Islam included when they wanted to buy some property out there, I would go out there and take a cashier's check, which they have $35,000, or if they're gonna buy the school, they got so much money, okay, here's $51,000 for that property, or something like that. I don't have the exact number. And when they don't pay no taxes for a long time out there, we go out there and pay $48,000, something or other $100 on their taxes, cash money. We pay it. And he's saying I stole some money from the Ummah. I don't call people names, but this Negro never raised 35 cents. In the account that he was on, that I put him on, I put $35,000, $40,000 in that account for him to spend. Now, see, you gotta remember, in our community, if you're gonna manage the community, you got to manage it. You don't get no income or nothing. You gotta hustle. That's good, that's excellent. Not him. Not him. He didn't raise no money, all he did was spend money. The guy just spent money. And then y'all gonna flatter and be associated with them. You remember when we had them programs just a few years ago? Oh, silly Khadijah would be talking to you like, remember, I'm supposed to be surrounded and by myself. That's bad for most people, and it's perfect for me. Why, hell, I've been by myself. When I run off, left the country, I left by myself. When we built up Oakland, I brought everybody on board. Remember, think back, I built that up before I brought anybody on. When I brought anybody on, I'm already driving Cadillacs and everything. I brought them on. They didn't build it up and then I got on with them. They got on with me. When I was in South America, or when I went to Africa, all those things, I went down there first by myself. When I called the Negroes, everything's already fixed up. Everything is, so for me, by myself is great because I don't have to argue with nobody. All right? All I got to do is analyze. What does that mean? I go on a little research, and what does that mean? And what does that mean? Pretty soon, you got a plan. You got a plan. I've been doing it all my life. Y'all made a mistake by counting on the white man's system instead of counting on me. And it's normal because, hell, he got everything, so you thinking he ain't gonna beat that one. So all of a sudden, y'all send me the thing and it says, pay this or they're gonna take the property. So I pay it. And then y'all got in a hurry to destroy all of that property, poor property in California. Okay, you got to remember though, I'm already into what I'm into. You think I'm gonna let some property divert me? Do you know what base areas are? Base areas is you have this base area, that base area. This is masjid, that's a base area, that masjid, that house, this, that, another. And when it's time to drop it, you drop it. Right, you drop it. That's military precision. You don't stand there, that's what you thought I was gonna do. I didn't do that. I ain't did that with none of this. I have not done that with any of this. I don't care whether it's next door, around the street, the people park got all kind of sitting right out there. It don't make me no difference. I don't lose no sleep over none of it. That's from training. And another reality, the longer they play with me, the shorter their lifespan is. I already know that. That's why the inner workings of things, you tapped in to the history of the United States. You're tapped into it. He ain't tapped into it. He's not tapped into it. It's clear. You listened to them the other night, last week, the Democrats. You listened to them crackers last night. Boy, you listened to some savages. They're not talking about the world. They ain't talking about it. They're talking about somewhere else. I'm going to close in a minute. But here's what we got to do. This is a chance for y'all to reconcile yourself with a future. Get in the big thing. Bump boss man. Some of you, hell, is at retirement age, just in the late 60s, hell, retire and get on the team. We got relatives that are in a damn crazy house right now, almost because they think they did stuff against me. I'm not going to mention who it is, but y'all know who it is. It's the Veterans Administration, taking medicine. You don't need no damn medicine. Just listen to Unc say what Unc say. You didn't do me no harm. We knew it from day one. We could tell you the day it started. You could tell you the day in 1990 you had a discussion with Abdul Malik there, and we were sitting in a circle, and one of our family members is feeling bad, and Abdul Malik is, by that time, he's doing footwork because he think he's running something. And I'm just sitting there, and my relative is, but Abdul Malik knows that my relative is a tattletale, so he can't say anything. So Abdul Malik is smiling and laughing. I know what it's all about. Neither one of them have any idea that I understand what's going on. That's ability. That's ability. You have to train yourself to do that. Okay. Life's never like this. I'm not going to get into Sheldon and Terrell them and all that right now. I just want you to understand. All is forgiven. We're going to go back out there pretty soon, California, and I imagine we'll just go through the court process. We're going to whip boss man's behind real bad. We're either going to talk about him in books and articles, or we're going to do that plus get paid $100 million, which is up for negotiation, but it's That's what, see, they don't have a right. They've been doing this to me for decades, and they don't have a right to do that. There's nothing, any Negro that works for the white man, constitutionally, they don't have no right. I'm not violating any law. Nobody has a right to do nothing. Nobody, not a constitutional right, what am I, right? They're violating the Constitution, not me. And do we have their stuff? Look, I'm trying to tell you, we go up there with these white folks. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a white folks structure, and we done said it. Go back on the thing and you can find out. And we telling them this is made up. We giving a blow by blow. That's a fake blow there. That's a this, that's a that. And they have to stop. Right? I'm trying to tell you. We check what we're doing all the time. We check. We have a check. This is a check. Oh, let's go over here. Oh, we're going over there. Sure. For what? Just to check and see. Do they follow us over there? Do they know we're over there? Yes. All the time. We check everything. Every time. All the time. Just to see. We're not going to change anything. We already focused on where we're going. We're already thanking God. I'm telling you. Why the global encirclement of Imam Musa? Is because we have studied the life we're living in, and we're going to make a difference. Okay, I'm going to move toward death to global consumerism. Remember moral imagination. I'll close with this. Limitless dreams, unrestrained optimism, utopian thinking, unjustifiable optimism. That's an optimism that you can't even justify it. You're so optimistic that there's no reason. Why are you that optimistic? Why? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that ain't gonna do it. And it don't do it. You're unjustifiably, you can't even give a reason. That's called unjustifiable optimism. That you're so optimistic, there's no reason to. You can, but there's no reason to justify it. Audacity, that means, what's the name? Wrote a book, The Audacity of Hope. Yeah, it's true. You're audacious, all right. To hope in this thing? Where the hell you are now? What are you doing now? Is this audacity hope too? You got a crackpot in the White House? You got to look at how the world is looking at America. They don't even. And sound, even people are saying, the real, you don't make sense. What are you doing? Why are you? Hey, man, it's all over for boss man. So now, just retire. Y'all all old enough to retire. Retire and get on the team. All's forgiven. I'm telling you. Because you was helping me all the time. You just didn't know it. I couldn't tell you helping me. But I would tell some of our relatives, everybody here's the police. And they would say, maybe not all of them, but such and such and such. I said, I ain't paying no attention to that. I know if I tell you that's the police, that's the police. You can take it or leave it. Okay, study, analyze what I'm saying. Yeah, go through all of this. There's 1 or 2 last points. We used to use the term high schoolism and high school Negroes. But now we have to refer to those people as elementary school because see, here's the thing. Why I'm still here, we evolving right now. Every time I go and sitting there, it's evolution. You could tell by the election. We're evolving. That's why I'll know when it's time to go to California. I'll go then. But we're evolving as we're sitting right here today and yesterday and last night. It's evolution everywhere. So we used to have a thing the last 100 days of Malcolm when he was he was just moving. You know, when that rocket ship is going up and you see the earth getting smaller and smaller? Okay. As we move up, our Negroes are getting smaller and smaller. It's almost pitiful. It is pitiful. I keep my little phone so the crackpots, they're crackpots, but I like them. Whenever, if any of y'all crackpots want to call, go ahead, I'll answer the phone right now. Any crackpot want to call? I got a couple of calls not long ago. No crackpot calls. Well, all right. Don't say I never gave you a chance to call. The crackpot line is open. Any crackpots before we close now? This is the last call. Going once, going twice. It's the crackpot line is open. They're crackpots. It's like, and it ain't no, you can't be mad at them, although they might try to brutalize you every now and then. Good God Almighty, the crackpot line. Look at that, look at the phone number. Can you see the phone number?
Yeah, you can see it on.
Yeah, the crackpot line. I was just playing. You know where I said I prove everything all the time? That's just proving that the crackpots would call. See how funny it is? It's not even work. You just say, crackpot line is open, and the crackpot call, and it's the number. It's the number of the crackpots. This is ridiculous. No, it's like, that's how life is for me. Everybody else, I wouldn't want to be Imam Musa, they're doing him wrong, man. The poor brother. That's bull crap. You learn how to adjust and you shift it where everything is going your way. And remember, boys, you done did everything right. You done been training. Now go out there and what? Have fun. Go out there and have fun. That's what the movement is. Can you imagine that Allah allows you to have fun? So that's what the crackpot, I can't get over it myself, the crackpot line. And they actually call because they're crackpots. It's the crackpot line. Nobody else called. Only the crackpots. You saw the number. So, are there any questions or any comments?
Yeah, well, brother gave salams. One of the comments the brother said was, I guess it was based off something you were saying at the time, but reconditioning with positive words that promote action, inshallah.
Inshallah, very good.
He said also, Allah gives the best of experience so that we will fulfill Allah's purpose.
Allahu Akbar.
Wholly unawares until He places us for His use to bring about events that are wrote for us. Sometimes we may feel this is bad for us, but it's what is best, and sometimes we feel this is best for us, but in truth it is the worst.
Right.
We only could understand Allah.
Right.
Allah knows best.
Yeah.
And let me see, there was a few comments came in on Sunday. Someone said, can you please put some light in your next lecture on Imam Hussein, Karbala, and his stance against injustice?
I sure the heck will. I'm almost ready to go back right now, but I definitely. Is this still on?
Yeah, it's still on.
Okay. Remember, we talked for months about Najaf and Karbala, and that Allah was preparing the people for a certain thing, right? We did that for many years. And then all of a sudden an event happened on January the 3rd, and that focused it all. And that's why I didn't go back to California. I've been here all that since, because every time I get ready to go, something comes up to keep me here. That means we are evolving. You got to remember, When Allah answers those things, that's evolution. That's evolution. When I say simple little stuff, okay, we want the crackpot line is open. It's simple, but it's evolution. Because everybody saw it. I said the crackpot line, and I showed you the numbers. The people who call are the crackpots. They're the crackpots. Okay, we know that, and they know we know that, and everybody knows that. But it's fun just to, hey, crackpots, right? So is it any more? Yeah, we're going to talk about, we'll love to talk about Imam Hussein. But see, you got to remember, the government have set it up so I can't lose. Remember, they arrested me 8 times on my property with the people don't have nothing on paper that says they have a right to be there, they have a right to do nothing. And then one of the most beautiful things is when I was standing in the door telling everybody, no, the masjid is closed, and they crushing in. And I said, this is a super blessing because I told you we are the last indigenous masjid in the United States, standing against that, and here they come. It's better than the crackpot call. It's better. I'm trying to tell you, life is good. Any more comments?
Well, I mean, there's a few. I'm kind of just hitting the highlights here. They're like just little segments from different parts. Well, the person said, Prophet Muhammad, unlettered, could neither read nor write, was known as a strategic leader.
Yes.
I guess maybe that was reference to you not, going to collegiate and stuff. But
Right.
That's what I'm assuming the connection was.
Right.
And that's it. I guess I can go through all of them.
No, that's fine. I'm ready to close. I got to not empty out.
That's
But
all of them right there. So.
no, so we want to thank all of y'all for, and we'll be here Thursday with, we'll call that Family Appeal number 3. And I keep saying we're going to be more detailed and more structured. But hey, man, you wouldn't believe how nice this is. Because remember, how many times do you get a chance to offer to your family a reprieve, and then they can see, well, that's actually right, and then they can see the downfall of boss man. See, before, you couldn't see the downfall coming. But now, boss man is actually tilting over. He's actually falling down in front of everybody. So anyway, it's just nice.
Yeah, so the crackpots, they were on YouTube watching.
Right.
Yeah, she was over there blowing up the feed and stuff. But yeah.
No, remember, if they answer on the crackpot line, they're the crackpots. It don't make no difference what they say. Remember, they were saying, your father sold you into slavery. Didn't they say that? Something stupid. What are they? The stuff they say, if we paid attention to them, we would be crazy. We would be crazy. They would be diverting us. They don't take up our time. We take up their time. We're not going to follow them around. They have no effect. Not only them, but nobody else. If anybody gets involved with us, we're going to, with God's help, turn it into a benefit. That's the way we look at everything. So if there's this tow truck, that, we're going to turn it into a benefit. If there's any stalling going on, if any that going on, don't make no difference. We're going to get the benefit because we're looking at everything. Can you imagine that you look for the benefit in everything. So if that's all, thank you very much. Aqula Kali Hada, wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum.